Hey loves, it's Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible, and we are here with another episode of Response and React, and the fourth episode in this particular series where we're looking at Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Let's get into something that every woman dating in 2025 needs to understand. Power doesn't make a man dangerous. Unexamined power does. After watching 4 episodes of The Reckoning, it's painfully clear that some men don't just abuse their partners. They build entire ecosystems that protect their behavior while everyone else looks the other way. And baby, if you're not paying attention, you will mistake a man's influence for integrity, his success for safety, and his status for emotional maturity. Today's breakdown isn't about celebrity gossip. None of them have been. It's about recognizing a blueprint or these particular blueprints, because what we just witnessed in this documentary is the extreme version of dynamics many accomplished women face every day. Men who hide entitlement behind charm, control behind care, and violence behind a polished brand. If you want to date intentionally and protect your peace, you need to understand the patterns. Let's unpack it.
Aubrey O'Day, am I saying her name right?
Yeah,
yes.
I believe so.
Aubrey O'Day, episode 4, having to listen to somebody tell her for certain what was happening with her because she was passed out and blacked out and don't remember any of it.
As someone who also doesn't drink, she said.
Up as a Puffy fan and, being a person, separating the artist from the person, I just wanted to assume that happened to him from the money and it happened to him in Hollywood. Nah, he was.
I thought it made the storytelling so good. It's like, okay, he's born into this really unusual situation. In some ways, privilege and a lot of trauma. And then you add on to that this whole world that almost no one in the history of the world has ever experienced. That's a hell of a combo, because even the guy said there was that moment where he felt the switch go off for who Puffy became. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, that was the last time I saw the Puffy I grew up with. Suddenly he looked. So I think it's both. I think it's like trauma mixed with power that just turns you into somebody.
Really good job. Because even when they started showing like Video Music Box, they showed the nerdy kid dancing on the steps. Yeah. That was just thirsty as hell, trying to get into the industry by any means. Right. And then they showed this transition of him now being a party promoter, being the hottest party promoter, and then transitioning to Andre Harrell's assistant. And then, I think they just did a really good job of telling the story of who he was and who he became.
For sure.
So was Diddy fucking Little Rod? Because he definitely shot someone in front of him. But was he fucking him? Finally got through episode 4. You guys, when I be watching TV shows and I make videos, I take notes. So these are my notes. I now understand why Misa be cussing him out. Over the years, Justin is a year or two older than I am. And over the years, Misa will go off on him on Diddy on Instagram. And it's always like, what the fuck? It makes so much sense. Why? What you mean Justin handled it? What you mean? That also kind of makes me think, what is it about Justin that makes him the fixer son? I know Quincy is biologically Albie Sure's son, but Diddy claims him. And then you have Christian. Maybe it's like a baby boy thing. I don't know. Just so you guys know, I'm not enough in the industry to know anything about ketamine. Not quite there yet. I see it seems to be a thing, though. I'll report back when I get to that juncture in my career. Also want to know, what is this nigga's obsession with baby oil? It definitely gives that. You know how they said when he was beating Cassie, it was giving some 70s pimp shit? And with all the background that we know about his mama and his dad's a hustler, is baby oil in that 70s shit? I have to ask my uncles and my aunties and them, because it's what is the obsession with baby oil? What the fuck is going on? I also even though I kind of suspected, I was still gagged. And they waited to the very end to tell for Kirk to be hey, I was also a victim of him being sexually inappropriate with me. And I was ugh, I kind of suspected it, given everything that's happened. But still to hear someone say it, it's so crazy. Diddy's truly a bisexual demon. There's nowhere else to describe it. Hindsight is 2020, and I was an adolescent when a lot of this was going on, especially the situations like Aubrey O'Day. And everyone really knew this nigga was crazy behind the scenes, because I remember Aubrey O'Day, it seemed like once a year would come out and say Diddy was crazy and he was a predator and all this shit. No one ever called her a liar, from what I remember. Celebrities never came out and been oh, she's lying. They just kind of ignored her. And watching this is because everybody knew. Now, I'm not saying this in defense of the jurors, because I think that they, especially the lady, are kind of weird, and I'm going to get to that. But I was a mock trial kid. I thought I was going to go to law school. I literally did a whole mock trial thing at Stanford. Slight flex. And oftentimes I think people pay big money for niggas like Johnny Cochran because it's really not about what's right or wrong. It's about what you can prove. And so when she said, yes, that DV video was really sad, but the charges were not DV. And clearly, like, the prosecution didn't do a good enough job of showing DV and how this related to his trial, because the point of that would have been to show if he's capable of this, then he's capable of that. They obviously didn't draw good enough conclusions in the juror's head. That's why people be doing like prep with their witnesses. Like, all of this shit is very important, because when they get back there, they're like, yeah, you have to take your feelings out of it. What does the evidence say? And I just sometimes feel like the general population doesn't have a good understanding of how like the legal system works, and it's absolutely not about what's right or wrong. Much like PR, much like a lot of things. Now, I want to fire that lady up. She was absolutely fanned out. She was absolutely fanned out. Because granted, I too, if I was a regular civilian, hearing Diddy kidnap this lady and they went to go kill Kid Cudi, that does sound outlandish. But why are you, oh, me and Diddy looked at each other like that was crazy. Like, it is giving fan. It's giving your fanned out. Like, that does sound outlandish, but clearly he's on trial for something, so it can't be that far-fetched. You know? Again, this is why they practice with witnesses, because how she said she was crying and there was a lot of holes in the story. Ugh, that's why, girl, that witness prep is important as fuck. I saw that 50 Cent had sent him some shit, and it's funny because, you know, his PR machine was working. During that time, I was... let me toot my own horn here. And it would still be a lot of people taking that angle if 50 Cent didn't hate this man so much. Now, Curtis ain't no good either. All that flower sending. And then Diddy gonna send him some funeral flowers. That shit look like it belonged on a casket. Maybe he meant it that way, because you know he real, you feel me, intentional in that sense. Shit. Like getting people up out of here. I'm sure Curtis gonna be all right. He done already survived getting shot 9 times. Shit, I ain't worried about Curtis shit. Just make sure power is just still on. It was me. I was one of the first TikTokers who made a video that day when that Cassie shit dropped. And I will never forget. Y'all can scroll. You know I make a lot of videos today. It's still up though. I will never forget the way you suck ass niggas was in my comments. Oh, she's trying to bring a black man down. You heard Justin say what ain't gonna pull. You fuck ass niggas got finessed. Stupid.
And now that we've made it to episode 4 of the Diddy documentary, let me just say this. Klarna, your decision-making skills suck. So maybe them kids is cool where they at. Hello, internet. This is why journalists be getting mad when y'all content creators be calling yourself journalists. Because this lady and this juror member are not the same person. This lady right here, pictured with Diddy at the 2009 BET Awards, is actually a journalist, and again is completely different from this dingbat who sat on the jury during the Diddy trial. This was a thread from Winter yesterday. I care about anyone confusing my work as a former journalist where interactions with celebs were extremely common with some lady who was on the jury. I also care about how many people are walking around dumb and blind. Hello. Now that that's clear, there needs to be a not safe to be around list that we can put people on, because what do you mean? Oh, well, like things would go on with him and Cassie and then they would go back to dating each other. You were acting as if you were not hearing this information that lays out the fact that Cassie could not just get up and leave. Put your hands up right now. We're praying. Father God, we pray that whatever God was talking to Diddy during the course of that documentary stay far, far away from us. Because what you mean God told you not to do nothing, but he is allowing you to orchestrate everybody else around you doing something? Stop playing with God. Episode 4. April of 2004, Diddy needs a new assistant. Insert Capricorn Clark. Okay, what Diddy did not know at the time of hiring, but then later found out, is that Capricorn's best friend is Suge's baby mama. When he finds that out, he takes this woman along with his security guard to Central Park at night by themselves and tells this lady, if things go left, I'm going to kill you. And you see how it ain't nobody here now? It won't be nobody around then. Still not sure how I feel about Capricorn. Like, is she a G? Did she do what had to be done? Or is she also an enabler? Anyway, from that moment, Capricorn kept it real close to her chest. She didn't say nothing about Diddy threatening her, and she held it down. That made Diddy trust her. Like, again, I'm clear that you have to have a seat at the table in order to tell people, hey, they serving rotten food at the table. So I get it to a certain extent, Capricorn. By 2008, just 4 years later, Diddy makes Capricorn his global brand manager, meaning like she's the manager of everything. And she has that position until 2012. Ask me why she doesn't have the job anymore. Okay, so boom, Diddy is out of town. Capricorn is supposed to be the guardian of Cassie because she needs one of those, right? Further proving that she couldn't just leave. While Diddy is away, Cassie will play. Insert Kid Cudi. Okay? Now, Cassie asks Capricorn, hey, can Kid Cudi come on a hike with us? And Capricorn is like, listen, Diddy can cheat on you. You can't cheat on Diddy. And now you got me in it, right? You want me to keep your secret, but I need to tell him because he's going to kill me. Girl, nevertheless, Capricorn holds it down. She don't know nothing about Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi don't know nothing about Capricorn. Somehow, some way, Diddy finds out because what we know is that Diddy has cameras in every inch of his houses. Diddy gets in his car, goes to Capricorn's house, says, hey, why you ain't tell me? Then proceeds to kidnap Capricorn and drive her to Kid Cudi's house because he says he finna unalive Kid Cudi. Netflix, executive produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, episode 4. Diddy has just found out that Cassie is messing around with Kid Cudi. He drives to his assistant's house, Capricorn Clark, kidnaps her, and takes her to Kid Cudi's house because he wants it back in blood. Kid Cudi's not home. My question, Kid Cudi, Scott, you don't have no security cam footage? Capricorn calls Cassie. Hello, look what you got me into. Cassie is like, oh, I'm over here with Kid Cudi. Diddy says, listen, tell Cassie that I have kidnapped you. Tell her that I'm not letting you go until Cassie tells me where Cassie is. Diddy proceeds to find out where Cassie is, gets to Cassie, and just starts kicking her. Because again, right, like, why didn't she just leave? I hate all of them jurors. When Papa Diddy Pop is done abusing Cassie, he looks at Capricorn and says, your services are no longer needed. She now has no job. A job that she has had since 2004. Here it is, 2012. And you know he not going to give her no good reference. It comes to Diddy and Lil Rod and the Love Off the Grid album. Lil Rod still hasn't gotten paid. I broke that documentary down when it came out. I'll repost it. I'm not going over it. Diddy deserves to spend the rest of his mama's life and then the rest of his life in prison for Aubrey O'Day's story alone. Because what do you mean that you found out that it was a possibility that Diddy and his friends took advantage of your body via an affidavit? She can't even confirm or deny whether or not this happened to her because she was that heavily intoxicated and not by her own doing. Investigators, who is Frank Black? Because now he was rapped about in a Biggie song, and then we use Frank Black as an alias for the Gentleman of the Night Worker, and now we're getting prescriptions in the name of Frank Black. Also, the man was taking prescription drugs and then mixing them with the street drugs and then drinking and then slathering the baby oil on him. My question is, how high do you need to be, Papa Diddy Pop? Do you need to be that high? Because you need to forget. Was this the Diddy trial? One of the biggest trials the entertainment world has ever seen, and you don't sequester the jury? Because the jury is not going to be sequestered, Mr. Papa Diddy Pop, the media manipulator, can do what he does best: manipulate the media. Klarna did a lot of talking in this episode about how Dawn wished it was her, but it's starting to really give that Klarna wished it was her. What do you mean? Diddy calls you to tell you that Dawn filed a lawsuit and you got all of that smoke, all of that bravado on your chest, as if you can vehemently confirm that none of these things that Dawn put in her lawsuit didn't happen to her. Like, girl, what? There were a lot of times that I just wanted to punch people through the screen whilst watching this documentary. What do you mean? You were going through a custody battle with your ex-husband. You need help. First of all, the fact that you was in Diddy Dirty Money and you even need $5,000 worth of help for legal reasons is beyond me. But you call your former group member, the man you snot crying, I love him, I'll do anything for him. You call him and you say, yo, I need $5,000. I'll give it back to you. I'm not even asking you to give it to me. I just need to borrow it. He says no. And then months later, he calls you asking you to make a public statement as a girl against another girl because he needs to look better in the media. And you do it, you dingbat. that, you moron. You, along with Usher's mother, may nothing good come to y'all until you apologize. And now that we're done breaking down all 4 episodes of the Diddy documentary, on Monday at 12 Eastern, live on the Women for the Culture Instagram page, I will be live with your legal bestie, none other than Simone Redwine. You know her from being at the trial and breaking this whole thing down. So join us on Monday at noon Eastern so we can chat. What do you mean Sean Diddy Combs, S.A. Kirk, co-founder of Bad Boy, Justin's godfather as well, and stole the 25% of Bad Boy that he owned? This man deserves to never get out. Them jurors were starstruck. They should have been sequestered. I don't know on what grounds, but I need a retrial. Y'all hear that Lil Rod said it took Diddy 7 months to lay down 8 bars. In the documentary, when Diddy is sucking at delivering his raps, the producer, Lil Rod, tries to correct him and give him the lines. Diddy says, don't do that. Ever. Like, sir, you suck. Just accept it. Gene Deal. Y'all know Gene Deal, former security for Sean and Misa. Okay. He did an Art of the Dialogue interview just the other day, and he said that originally Kirk, Gene Deal, and one other person were all trying to come together to get this story told, right? Gene Deal said he was laying out the way that the story should be told because, again, Gene Deal has been there since the beginning. When I say beginning, I mean Gene Deal security was the security used at the college event where all of the deaths happened, right? The first Astro World. Anyway, everybody was supposed to go in together as a package deal. They were each asking for $50,000 because according to Gene, just like we saw in the documentary, these people can provide notes, clothing, pictures. There is no story without them. The producer of the documentary did not want to pay them $50,000 each, right? It was at that moment, according to Gene, that Kirk broke off, went behind his back, and cut his own deal for the documentary. Gene also said that there was somebody on staff that was responsible for locking the doors. Had those gymnasium doors not been locked, the kids would have not lost their life. He also said the day before the college event was supposed to happen, Puff Daddy called him and said that Heavy D wanted to call off the security outside, therefore creating an environment where you have all of these superstars walking through the doors in front of these college students, and it created the pandemonium that we now know. He also said some things and made some allegations about Misa, but at some point I do actually have to mind my business.
Let's jump into my favorite part of all of the content I post on YouTube, and that's just my thoughts, where I get to kind of express what I feel about whatever we have read or gone over. So let's get into it. All right, Monsters in Designer, How Powerful Men Hide Abuse in Glamour, Wealth, and Public Image. So, like the other parts in this particular series, I looked at everything in this documentary through the lens of a relationship coach. So I want to highlight some things that were notable in the documentary, 5 main points, and kind of break down how I saw that in the episode, and then give you some, relationship coaching lessons on the back end of each point. So let's go. So point number 1, wealth creates illusions of safety. The documentary shows how Diddy's fame, his wealth, and industry status allowed him to surround himself with loyal staff, artists, and enablers, creating a safe circle that insulated him from early consequences. When accusations emerged like the sexual assault, exploitation, abuse, many in his orbit initially brushed them off, dazzled by his brand power, celebrity, and resources. Despite multiple serious allegations from group members, ex-girlfriends, sex workers, his public image, his wealth, his glamour, success shielded him for decades. And just quick, liaise to a quick pivot. We saw this with R. Kelly for years before, the making of R. Kelly documentary really opened a lot of people's eyes. So the relationship coaching lesson is when a man's wealth becomes his shield, meaning the glamour, the status, the luxury, that's often exactly how he protects toxic behavior. Money and image do not equal integrity. Okay. Emotional safety matters more than designer living. So this is very, very pertinent for women who are successful and are of a certain socioeconomic status. It can be very easy for you to get sucked into a man's glitz and glam and dates and flying you out and taking you on vacations because he has the money to do that because you're circulating in those circles. But don't be blinded by that, his public image, and really pay attention to his character and what he presents. That is paramount and important. I'm not saying don't do those nice things that you can afford to do with him and that he can afford you in dating, but don't let that blind you from seeing his real character. Main point number 2. Environments built on secrecy breed violence. If you notice, every cult that has ever sprung up, there is violence to it, okay? All of these private, secret organizations and, communities that are off-grid, violence is an embedded part of all of them. Just a segue and a side note on that. So in episode 4, we saw that there were a lot of claims of orchestrated parties, the freak-offs, allegedly drug-fueled encounters involving sex workers and women associated with him. Environments designed to be secretive, exploitative, and controlled. Women who resisted or didn't comply, like former group member Aubrey O'Day, described being punished, fired, or removed from the circle after refusing sexual advances or demands. And then a former sex worker in the doc claims years-long involvement. I think he was there for like 8 years, describing how participants were kept in cycles of intoxication and in control, making consent blurry and escape difficult. The relationship coaching lesson in this is secrecy, isolation, and confusion are often the first steps in abuse. If a man's world includes private rules, hidden behaviors, or exclusive access, that's a major red flag. Transparency and autonomy are baseline expectations. Anything else is manipulation. Once again, for my high-earning ladies, high-net-worth ladies who have access to date men in certain circles, be very mindful of this. Now, there's going to be a layer of exclusivity and prestige potentially to the men you date. But really look out for this when you meet the multi-millionaire men, celebrity men, etc. Be mindful of what you allow yourself to be pulled into and quote unquote private rules and exclusive access. Do not become desensitized to these things and listen to your gut. Your gut is your second brain. If it don't feel right in your gut don't feel right, if it just doesn't feel right to you overall in your spirit, don't do it. There's something about it that your intuition understands, even if you don't consciously understand it. Point number 3, abusers weaponize gender roles. So in episode 4, we saw that women in Diddy's circle were treated as disposable assets. Once they refused compliance, they were discarded regardless of talent, contribution, or history, like Aubrey O'Day and some of the other artists. Men in his circle, security, producers, etc., served as enforcers, tasked with managing, controlling, or silencing women who threatened his power or tried to escape. The documentary really suggests that the culture, air quotes, around him encouraged exploitation, a patriarchal ecosystem that normalized power imbalances under the guise of mentorship, business, or protection. So the relationship coaching lesson in this is when a man treats women as disposable, interchangeable, or secondary and enlists others to enforce that, it's not insecurity, it's bad habits. Well, it's not insecurity or bad habits. Let me rephrase that. It's systemic abuse. Real partnerships require equality, respect, and personal accountability. So once again, when you're dating men at a certain level, pay attention to what he tries to do, pay attention to his actions, not just his words. And if something doesn't seem right, it's not right. Also pay attention to the folks that he keeps around him and how he treats them. That means his staff, that means his friends, that means his crew or, business associates, whatever he calls them. That's very important. And then how they react to you. Don't brush anything off. Main point number 4 I wanted to bring up was public worship masks private harm. So in episode 4, we saw that the doc shows how long he maintained a public persona as a successful, powerful music mogul, while behind closed doors, there were multiple allegations of abuse, exploitation, and violence, like the gymnasium incident where it was overcrowded happened in the late 80s, early 90s. And it is 2025 and this man is just now facing any real consequences. During his 2025 trial, jurors admitted that although they saw surveillance footage of him physically assaulting Cassie, he put hands and feet on that young lady. They still struggled to convict him because they couldn't beat the public image versus private incident conflict that a lot of people face. The documentary highlights how industry and community admiration, awards, fame, influence made many doubt victims and overlook patterns, giving him benefit of the doubt for decades. Here's another layer that is in the subconscious of a lot of people. A lot of people don't believe black women. They don't believe black women. They don't believe that we can be abused. They don't just care about our pain. I have a very strong suspicion, him, very similar to R. Kelly, if they had been abusing white women, they would have been taken down sooner. But because they were causing a lot of harm within their own community, nobody cared. Sad, but very true. So relationship coaching lesson here is charisma, success, and public praise don't protect you from abuse. They're often used to hide it. So don't let charm or reputation blind you to red flags. Your safety and truth matter more than anyone's image. All right, and the last one, main point number 5 is abuse leaves a trail of enablers who are also victims, but you kind of got to side eye them when you see them. Okay, so in episode 4, we saw that there were a lot of testimonies from insiders, ex-associates, producers, staff members who revealed that they knew of exploitations. They knew about the freak-offs and the complaints, but they stayed silent because of fear, loyalty, or financial dependency. Okay, a lot of folks were speaking in this documentary the truth about Diddy because they didn't get paid, which is very uncomfortable to think about. These people wouldn't be speaking if he had paid them, you know? Like Lil Rod's lawsuit, right? So some former collaborators expressed regret and guilt, admitting they prioritized career survival over integrity, showing how the system around a powerful man perpetuates abuse. Okay, so the documentary shows that even when lawsuits, evidence, and survivor testimonies accumulate, the ecosystem still tries to protect him. Witnesses were intimidated, leaks are controlled, reputations are leveraged. So the relationship coaching lesson here is you don't have to be the abuser to be complicit, okay? Silence, compliance, or protection of someone's power at the expense of truth is violence in and of itself. When a man's circle fears accountability more than justice, that's a sign you're entering a system of abuse, not a relationship. If episode 4 taught us anything, it's this: a man's public image means nothing if his private behavior is violent, chaotic, or rooted in unchecked insecurity. Titles, talent, fame, money, none of it can cover up a character deficit. And as women, especially accomplished women, we must release the fantasy that potential, proximity, or prestige can compensate for the emotional danger of a man who refuses accountability. Your discernment is your protection. Your boundaries are your lifeline, and your intuition is not overreacting, it's warning you. So take these patterns, these lessons, and these red flags seriously, because you do not need a cautionary tale to validate what your spirit already knows. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want to sharpen your discernment, upgrade your dating standards, and build relationships that honor your emotional safety and feminine peace, join my exclusive coaching community on Coffee. Inside, we break down dynamics like this in real time with tools, prompts, and live support designed to transform the way you choose, the way you love, and how you lead in your romantic life. Come get the wisdom, the strategy, and the community you deserve. Your next level of love starts with